Let me ask you a question. If you woke up one morning and discovered a lump on your neck or a lump on your testicle, would you just say, it's okay, it'll probably go, and just get on with your day? No, you'd be worried like hell. And the first thing you would do is pick up the phone and ring a doctor and get an appointment. So let me ask you this. What makes you think putting off drinking is any different? If you keep drinking, it will eventually destroy the rest of your life, and it might even lead to death. But it will be a slow, dragged out, painful one. You may be fine for the next 5 years, but 10 years from now, you might be back and forth to the hospital, liquidating assets to pay medical bills. You might get so sick that your wife might even leave you. Humans always seem to sweep problems under the carpet as if we think they will just magically disappear. I've told you this story before, but I had a friend and we actually used to drink a lot together. We were friends from the age of 17 or 18 up until a few years ago. The first time I actually met him, he punched me in the side of the face in a kid's disco, but we got over that. Anyway, we'd always be at parties and he'd be the first one to fall asleep. He'd wake up like 8 a.m. on the sofa and we'd all still be awake downstairs and he'd be groggy as hell. He'd like reach down the back of the sofa and he'd magically pull out a quarter cup of vodka. He'd take the lid off and he would just neck it neat and we'd all be laughing at him thinking that he was a hero. And at the time, he was. But the problem is, he kept the same pace up for the next 10 years. Unfortunately, a few years ago, I opened my phone and I got a message and I found out that he'd been found dead. I don't know the exact details of his death, but I did hear that he had some serious health problems. He went to the doctor and he knew that he needed to have surgery, but he was too scared because he was worried about dying. And eventually he did die. Had he stopped drinking, this would never have happened. I don't want this long, painful, drawn-out death for you because I've seen it firsthand. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Ben. I am the founder of Hybrid Sobriety, a program that not only helps you quit alcohol, but helps you become the most disciplined, determined version of yourself so you can go out there and get the life that you actually want. If you're serious about quitting drinking, I have a training video for 2025. I'm not sure how long it's going to be free for, but it's here now. I'll leave the link in the description, so check it out. Next point. Don't think you can keep the same life. Oh boy. Let me ask you this. Have you ever tried quitting drinking before? The answer is probably going to be yes, multiple times. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you do the same things that you did when you drank? Did you spend time with the same people, in the same places, in the same environments? 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes to both. It was the same for me. When I was 23, 24, I told my friends, that's it. This time, I'm finally done. No more drinking. At the time, we were getting ready to go out to an MMA event, and it was around about 5 p.m. We were in my friend's house, and they were racking up lines and having pre-drinks. Guess what happened next? By 10 p.m., I was back in that house doing the same as them. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. This is where people go wrong. They stop drinking, but they don't change their routines. They don't build the habits they need to transition over into a sober lifestyle. Change happens when you change your identity. I always say this to my friends and my clients. Stopping drinking is the easy part. It's a no man's land when you initially quit, when you're working towards achieving, identifying as a non-drinker, where the real work begins. It's like starting that new business that you've never successfully navigated before. Who knows if you'll come out the other end a winner? It's going to be challenging and it's going to be lonely, and only a few will be able to relate to you. But sooner or later, you will start replacing bad friendships, bad environments, and bad habits. I am 5 years sober now, and I have rebuilt my life from the bottom up. That's why I don't even consider drinking anymore. You're either going to love me or hate me on this point. But my friend recently sent me this Facebook post of this guy who was on some forum, and he was a picture of him crying with a caption saying he was a helpless alcoholic. He was pathetic and that his wife had left him and he needed help. People only want to help you when you want to help yourself. This is not the way to go about things. In fact, acting like this is only going to repel people away from you. And by doing this, unfortunately, you're never going to get your wife back. If you act out like this, you've already lost the battle. Please, on your sober journey, have some pride and respect in yourself. I see this homeless guy outside 7-Eleven. For those of you who don't know, it's like this food shop. This guy is at rock bottom. He's got a skin disease all up his leg. He sleeps on the floor, but he's at rock bottom, but he's not helpless. Every day I see him collecting cardboard and plastic bottles so he can exchange for money. People are in a far worse position than you, especially if you're able to view this video right now. Drinking alcohol is a choice. It's a bad habit, and with enough discipline, you can overcome this. I've been in so many bad situations in my drinking days. I remember when I was 16 years of age, I went to some party and there was this boy there that just constantly bullied me. I'd had a few drinks, I didn't do anything to him, and he came over and he punched me. So I ended up going home, I was drunk, upset, ended up arguing with my mum and my stepdad. Long story short, my mum called the police on me because I argued with my stepdad. And unfairly, I got arrested. To this day, I still resent my mum, and maybe if I hadn't got arrested, I wouldn't have ended up going to prison twice. Statistically speaking, going to jail twice for fighting, that should have been the end of me. But I always knew deep down that I could be and do more in life. I was down, but I was never out. Luckily for me, I always had the gym and kickboxing to keep pulling me back on the straight and narrow. Let's be real here. This is why you fail. You wake up with a hangover and you say, that's it, I'm done, no more drinking. Then as the weekend goes, the hangover fades and so does the pain. But the cravings and urges still remain the same. The problem with using willpower, it's a limited resource. As the week grinds on and the stress builds, you've had a hard week of work, maybe your car breaks down or you've argued with your missus. The number one thing that we use to escape reality is alcohol. But by this point, your willpower is already gone. Willpower is just white-knuckling cravings and temptation. It can be used as a last form of defense, but it's not a long-term strategy for success. There's a much easier way to do things. That's why I always teach building a bulletproof routine that avoids the people, places, and environments where temptation creeps in. Out of sight, out of mind is a far better tactic than just using willpower. Don't call yourself an alcoholic. The best way to get over a breakup is to move on and find someone else, right? You wouldn't stay single for the rest of your life crying about that person who didn't want to be you. If we all did that, we would end up extinct. The term alcoholic is a label that sticks for life. By the way, you're the only one who can diagnose yourself as one, and once you do, it's stuck with you forever. When I quit drinking, I didn't label myself, I just moved on with my life. Drinking didn't work for me. It stopped me becoming who I wanted to become. And that's the end of it. When you go to AA, you have to stand up and label yourself as an alcoholic. You're then dependent on those meetings for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you'll end up going back to drinking, and to me, that just sounds crazy. My granddad, he had the same sort of commitment, but it was for kidney dialysis. 3 times a week, he'd have to go back and forth to the hospital, otherwise he would end up dying. He had to continue the same trip for the last 10 years of his life. You don't need to go to meetings for the rest of your life. You don't need expensive rehabs where other people identify themselves as alcoholics. I didn't, and I know plenty who didn't either. Be very careful attaching the words I am to the beginning of a sentence. Modern psychology is actually moving away from the term alcoholic. They use terms like problematic drinking or grey area, but that is a topic for another video. I promise you, move away from the limiting beliefs and your life will be much easier. Don't compare your journey with others. I've got a friend who's quit drinking. Ironically, he calls himself an alcoholic. He's been to rehab twice. The first time didn't work. The second time, he's now sober. But I remember we were having a conversation and he said to me, I'm X amount of months sober. Not quite as good as you, but I'm catching up. I remember just stopping the conversation in its tracks and I just said to him, look, it's not a competition. Don't compare your chapter 1 to my chapter 5. Everybody's journey's different. This perfectly brings me to, don't expect quitting alcohol to fix your life. I'm guilty of this and it still low-key bothers me. I've quit drinking, built my body, built my bank account, built the YouTube channel, and I've built the business. And I still find myself, compare myself to people like Chris Williamson, Joe Rogan, and Mike Thurston. When you quit alcohol, I promise you, it will make your life 100 times better. But by default, it's going to make you 100 times more ambitious. All this energy and free time is going to drive you to trying new things. Maybe building your body, starting a martial art, or starting a business. Whatever it is, new level, new devil. And guess what? Each step of progress comes with its own unique set of problems. Alcohol won't fix all your life, but it prepares you to deal with them better. Don't be pessimistic. Start viewing this as a privilege, not a punishment. You are unlocking a cheat code for life. You're allowing yourself to operate on a level that you never knew was possible. When you strip back alcohol to what it really is, which is a poison, you actually come to the conclusion that it's sedating you from the reality of life. It dehydrates you, clouds your clarity, steals your energy, depletes your finances, and to top it off, puts you in a bad mood. The list goes on, and for what? A few hours of escapism? I look around at drinkers now, and I feel sorry for them. You've got this one shot at life where you can become and do anything, but you choose to self-sedate and suppress yourself. Quitting is a privilege. You should stand loud and proud. Don't be pessimistic. Don't explain yourself to others. Last year, I spoke about how I worked as an electrician and I was living in Australia. I moved out into the countryside to start a new job, which was a new hospital. I didn't know anyone on the building site, and sooner or later, word got out that I didn't drink. Only naturally, people asked me, why don't you drink? And I said, because I didn't want to end up a loser. I was speaking from my own personal experience and reasoning. But obviously, they took offense because at some degree, they probably felt like they were a loser themselves. I'm not trying to say that everyone who drinks is a loser, but it certainly doesn't do you any good. And I've expressed this in my previous point. People are going to think that you're better than them. And eventually you will become better than them. As you continue to level up in life, you will start to lap rings around people who spend time in pubs, bars, or drinking at home. Remember, you don't owe anyone a reason to improve your life. No is a complete sentence. Don't lie to yourself. I've seen this happen in so many people's journeys of quitting alcohol. They go 1 month without drinking. I've even met someone who's gone 5 years without drinking. Life starts to get better and better, and eventually they forget the reason why they quit in the first place. They then entertain the idea of having just one drink and find themselves back to square one with another drinking problem. Please promise me, when you stop drinking, do not entertain the idea of having just one drink. I promise you it will not end good. The final point is, don't delay taking the next step. I've left a free training video for 2025. I'm not sure how long it's going to be free for, but the link is there in the description. I suggest that you check it out. I thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.